everyone,
Hello.
and welcome to Talent Talks. Today I'm joined by Andy Brett. Andy and I go back a long way. And Andy, thank you so much for joining us. I will let you introduce yourself. You can tell us a bit about your career to date.
Creative, that's a big question, isn't it? Yeah. So I am a change consultant. I'm an executive coach, and I'm a qualified therapist. I've known Jenny for 6.5 years now, I think, something along those lines. I've done all sorts of different things over the years. I've been a chief HR officer in a global consultancy. I've worked in financial services. I've coached people in so many different industries at all sorts of different levels. Really, my thing is around what connects people in the workplace. I'm quite relational in the work that I do. And also I work a lot with change. And specifically within change transitions. And I'll talk a bit more about that when we get in, I think. So that's a brief intro.
Excellent, thank you. And I know there was a couple of areas we could speak about so many different things, and we have done over the years. But there was two areas that I thought would be good to talk about today. Obviously, we've just had a second lockdown announced, and that's impacting us all in loads of different ways. We'll be missing our friends, our families, our colleagues. And I think you and I spoke a couple of times or a few times around this whole, need for belonging and the importance of this. So could you tell me a little bit about because you've talked a bit about belonging before, what belonging means and also how you think lockdown's going to impact on it?
Yeah, can do. So belonging. Belonging's a feeling is the first thing that I'd say. So you can't tell someone they belong in an organisation and have them feel it. Really what you need to do is kind of create the conditions for them to arrive at that conclusion themselves. And there's lots of conversations about belonging as an area at the moment. And lots of really good content coming out. Lots of different viewpoints on it. And I mean, you asked specifically about lockdown. Tricky times, really tricky times. If you think about the level of uncertainty that's going on in the world at the moment, we've got lockdown coming, may or may not end on the 2nd of December. I'm sure we've all got our fingers crossed that it will. The American election is happening right now. So they're counting the votes over there, and that's going to impact widely outside of the country. There's also things like Brexit that's due to come next year. And the reason why I'm saying these things is because of the level of uncertainty that brings in for all of us. Now, if you put yourself in the shoes of really quite an increasing number of people this year who have changed roles, because as hard as it is in the labour market right now, I'm sure all of us, whenever we go into LinkedIn, we see that people are getting jobs day after day, and that's slowly beginning to increase, which is fantastic. A couple of things come up for me with that then around belonging and lockdown. So connection. Our feeling of being connected to the places where we work and to each other is one of the main drivers of a sense of belonging. If you are operating in a world that's as uncertain as the one that we're in right now, if you're navigating that and attempting to change organisations, if you're then landing the job, over the moon about that, starting a new team, begin to pick up work with people that you've never actually met at any point, all the way over the whole thing, and you were just getting ready to start going into the workplace, or maybe you've gone in a couple of times and now you're being told that that's not going to be happening for the next while, it's going to have an impact to how connected people feel to the places that they're working.
So I suppose there's lots of different roles that we play, isn't it, in enhancing people's feeling of belonging. But as friends, or as an HR person, or as leaders, how can we enhance people's feeling of belonging right now?
For me, that goes back to it being a feeling. We're all human beings in this, So the ability to put yourself in the shoes of the other person, to think about, okay, so how would I feel if I was working here and this was going on? There are links to well-being in that. Again, like with belonging, a really important part of that is people feeling accepted for who and what they are, and their well-being being taken care of. Either in their family environments, in their work environments. It's not really a different process. We're one person in the middle of all of that. And I've noticed actually on these talent talks you've been doing, there's been some really great D&I content over the last little while that speaks to some of those other aspects of it. So looking out for each other, taking care of each other, trying to stay connected. To each other. On the way through.
That's the key, isn't it?
Yeah, it is the key. It is absolutely the key. And also, one final bit I would say is around letting people know that their contribution matters and how it matters. So my work adds to the work of my team, and my team adds to the work of the organisation. Like, how do you line those things up for people so that what you're asking them to do makes sense? And they can see that not just themselves, but also the work they do is valued. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. The other thing we talked about, and you touched at the beginning, was, very much around change and transformation and transition. And, HR, we talk about that a lot. I know this is an area that fascinates you, so tell us why.
I've been interested in this as a topic area for quite a long time, but more so this year, actually, I think. Just to really quickly go into it, like, change can happen like that. We've all witnessed that. I mean, just on Saturday, the government announced a new national lockdown. Boom. Change is right here. But there's a very big difference between change and transition. Because change can be done to people and can happen really quickly. Transitions come from in here. And sometimes they take a little bit longer. So I really noticed for myself this year, the change to home working, to doing conversations like this over this kind of platform rather than being face-to-face. That all came really suddenly. But it probably took me a few months to actually transition into this way of working and get used to it.
That's so true, isn't it? It's really true. So what would you say are the main elements to focus on when you're trying to increase the capacity for change within an organisation?
3 things I always think about when I'm thinking about capacity for change. First one is you have to start with yourself. Because you can deliver change inside an organisation, but you can really only support someone through a transition that you've already gone through yourself. So if you're a manager, if you're a leader of any type, if you're a HR professional, whoever you are, if you're looking to create a change inside your organisation at this point in time, probably a really good starting point is to sit down and think, well, where am I with this? Am I on board with it? What does it mean for me? Then to think about, okay, so how do I now take this transition that I've completed and encourage others to come through the same? Because what worked for you will probably work for someone else.
Yes. Yeah. That's self-awareness. I think it's not, historically, it's not something that we've used to talk about with leaders when we did leadership development, is it?
No, I mean, I think it has been increasingly over time, things like emotional intelligence, humble leadership is a phrase that I hear more and more and have done over the years, which is more about feeling comfortable not knowing the answers, but knowing that you've got the right questions.
Okay. Yeah.
And working in that kind of way with people, allowing them to find their own path through the changes that need to be delivered in the organisations. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've worked with change for a couple of decades now in all sorts of different stripes. Sometimes things have to be done when they have to be done. That just is what it is. That's the way business works. That's the way the world works. If you're producing a product and you know it's got to be out by Christmas, well, there's no point having it out by Easter.
No.
So... got to do things to deadlines on the way through. But if we can do that in a way that supports people to come along with us when we're doing that kind of work, really the kind of discretionary effort, the buy-in, the engagement, the increase in their sense of belonging, because they will know more how their work is actually contributing to the forward direction of that, if you can set things up in a way that allows them to see that for themselves.
If an organisation, let's say you've got someone watching this video today, and they know that they're about to go through a change of some sort, and they're about to lead that, or an HR person is about to lead something. It doesn't necessarily need to be a leader as such. What would you say? What are your practical tips that you could give to them today to start thinking about before they embark on that process of change?
Good. So start with yourself. Work out where you are with something, then move on to how you get that across to others and bring them along with it. But then the third one is very much think about the system that you're doing it in. So more and more this year, I think many of us have had an education in just how interconnected we all are, and how it's really hard to change one part of anything. So any kind of change that you're looking to achieve in an organisation, whether that's a reduction, whether it's an expansion, whether it's a new product or service, or a change of direction, you can't do those kind of things without altering the whole system. Okay. And sometimes your system starts with your service users, customers, clients, whoever that is. So think about that. So go from self, think about how you bring others on board, but consider the environment, the system that you're doing it inside. When
you say the system, you're meaning the environment that change is happening within.
Yeah.
Yes.
With.
Yeah.
Within. Yeah.
It works. Yeah, exactly.
All of those.
Fantastic. So we're about to start this lockdown. What are you going to do with this next 4 weeks of national lockdown?
Oh, that's a really big question. What are any of us going to do?
I know.
First of all, I'm going to try and wean myself off looking at the US election every 5 minutes to see which way the vote's going. Then I'm going to do probably a couple of different things, actually. One is that I'm still carrying on delivering the work I was doing, which is good. Yes. And that won't change. But I'm going to try and use the opportunity, as I did earlier on in the year, to just sit down and think, okay, so how do I take something positive from this? Because it's really, really easy to get overwhelmed by what's going on at the moment. Really easy.
It is, and I think you're what you spoke about communication and connectivity with your colleagues and your friends and your family, and this whole piece about belonging. I think that's something that hopefully we're a lot better at this time round as well. So we can. We've been through it once before, so we can do it again, and hopefully even better.
Yeah. I do actually fully agree with that. Like, this is our second time around. We know what we're doing with this. We've done it before, and this lockdown is not actually as stringent as the first one was. No. So schools are remaining open for a start. I know every parent in the country is jumping up and down in relief that the schools are remaining open. Exactly. And things like that. So we can absolutely do this. But I think it's important to use anything like this just as an opportunity for how do you pull something positive from it? Because if all you do is experience the negative, it'll be harder to push through.
Exactly. Now, you've watched our Talent Talks videos, and so you'll know at the end I always offer up the that we're here to help our people in our network. So I take it you're happy for me to tag you in and offer your support.
Yeah, excellent. I'm always happy to connect with people.
I know you are. So thank you so much, Andy. I really appreciate it, and I hope you get on okay over the next few weeks.
And you.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.